what's up? I'm here looking all crazy. Are y'all here? Hopefully, everything is working fine with the microphone. I just realized that I was like, wait a minute, I should be live right now. What's going on? This software changes. I just realized that I have the option to have different things on my application. I know people are going to be coming into the room, and if you are here, blessings, I will acknowledge you. I know people come in and out. A lot of times, people will start pouring in later on. That's one thing about live is people come in when they come in. It's the first live of 2025. So, you got to go ahead and shout out. We see that Miss Deidre is in the room. Thank you. We appreciate you. I know I appreciate you. You're an amazing person, right? If you out there right now listening, if you don't mind, go ahead and, say something in the chat. Say something in the chat. I'm just messaging our guests. All right. Woo! Lovely evening. How is your 2025 starting out? Hopefully you guys are relaxing, still on a little bit of a break. I know many people are back to work. I'm doing it a little different here this evening. This evening I have me a little bit of S. Pellegrino, right? My little water. And then we have, of course, a nice, beautiful Cabernet. Beautiful Cabernet. I got it for Christmas. I have to enjoy my, periodically, I enjoy me a wonderful glass of wine. This is a real smooth. You put your nose in it like that, and you swirl. That's why you have a certain glass. Swirl, open it up, let it breathe. Oh, yeah. Oh, God, that's wonderful. Beautiful notes there. I appreciate you guys for coming out. And if you notice, I know I got that post out a little late, but just know that this conversation is going to be amazing. I had a conversation with him earlier. He was calling to tell me some things, and it was a beautiful conversation about expanded consciousness, spirituality, the church, and how do we move forward in terms of who we are. And my thing about when we think about our deconstructing process of who we are, my thing is like, it's good to have an aim. It's good to have a target, something you're aiming for. When you think about finishing college or going to school, you get a you have a curriculum for the class, but you also have a degree audit, right? You have something that says, here's where I'm at with trying to achieve where I'm trying to go. So they'll do what we call as an audit, so you can actually understand, right, where you are in that process of finishing the courses that you need to take. And so I kind of feel that same way with deconstructing, in the sense that y- to have it doesn't have to be a clear path, but the true goal of deconstructing your life, right? Deconstructing your belief system. A lot of us moving and coming out of fundamental, traditional, charismatic Christianity, um, being able to understand, right? Like, where is it I'm going? What am I really trying to accomplish, right? In the long run. And so I'm here to um, hold on one second. Sorry about that. I'm here to kind of give us that path, give us that understanding, give us that direction. I'm having lots of conversations and people have lots of questions, and we can go over a lot of biblical terminology, right? We can go over a lot of as I say, play scripture tennis. The word says this or the word says that, and you don't really get much anywhere. Anyways, what we're going to do is we want to welcome some people into the room. We already seen, and we have to do it again. Miss Deidre. Miss Deidre is the um, expanded conscious member of 2024 of the year. It's an award that I just made up. um, and and the discipline award goes to John Thomas. He just is in trouble just because. Hey, Miss Tia, we love you. Thank you for coming into the space. Miss Gwen, and Miss Tia is doing a lot of work. She's working with me on some things to help bring this thing to life. So is Miss Deidre. Miss Gwen, we appreciate you, love you. Thank you so much for coming in. Miss Gwen tells everyone happy, healthy, prosperous 2025. We'll drink to that. Oh, yes, yes, yes. There he is, Brother John Thomas. And he turned water into wine, which wasn't grape. That Welch's grape juice is probably worse for you than this, if you do too much of it. Um, anyways. Oh, Miss Dolores. Good to see you. I understand that Miss Dolores had just lost her brother who had transitioned. He was, I think, 86, and I had the privilege to be with her during that process. Literally, have a word with him. She called me up during his transition. I had talked to him this time last year for the first time, and boy, did we have a conversation. It was fun. It was beautiful. I was able to honor him, right, and um, just be open and give him his space. He was a retired veteran, and he served in the military and really didn't get honored in the sense of being a Black American African, as I say. So we honor him in his transition process. Also, we lift up Dr. Dorothy Parker and her process with her father, who I believe was 96, maybe. And he just transitioned. She is the power of attorney. And so she's handling a lot of his um, uh, the processes in his transition and the funeral. So we lift her up. You guys, if you get a chance, you can go message her or whatever. She's been getting messages, but that's Dr. Dorothy. Hey, this year, of course, Miss Dorothy Inez. Uh, we will be we will be having her on this year. Miss Dorothy Inez is going to be on. I know she's like, when are we going to do this? She was around Bishop, and but she worked with uh, Michael Beckwith, and now she has her own um, practices that she's doing in don't tell me, she's in where Prince is, and Prince was from, I'm not even gonna look because y'all gonna try to tell me. Ohio, I believe, right? Yeah, I'll find out. Miss Rose, thank you. Welcome to the space and to the room, Miss Rose. I missed you. I seen you, and Miss Rose is it's good to have you. So good to have you. Good to see you, brother Robin. Robin Silk. Uh huh. Yes, yes. It's beautiful to have you. Minneapolis. Oh my God, that's what it was. Minneapolis. Yes, it's the home of Prince, and of course, you see how she has the purple hearts. I think Prince just reincarnated, and somehow she's communicating with Prince because everything she does is Prince. Well, this is going to be beautiful tonight. Our guest is on live. He has a live show also, but just to prep you and get you ready for this, as you will notice on my Facebook posts, uh, it let's see. I talked about what this is going to be about, of course. If you didn't get a chance, let's go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and copy this and paste it so we all know, so we can all kind of get on the same page on what this is. Also, I don't want you to forget that if you get a chance, you can go watch. I posted an actual video that went to the private community. People got to see it, and they commented on it before I shared it to YouTube. I plan on doing that. And so there's Miss Jolynn. Good to see you. Um, but this here, let me get to the right screen, folks. Here we go. Uh, let's read this. The evolution of spirituality is here, and it's calling us higher. Too often we get stuck in the cycles of tradition, mistaking the tools such as sage and crystals and new age rituals for the destination, right? A lot of times, too, especially within the Black church, we get it confused with new age and crystals and all those things as being spirituality. And then, thus, also thinking that that's expanded. I know that people do those things. I know that people find practices in enjoying certain aspects of those things. Um, the church itself gets it confused with that one. They call that new aged, and they don't even know what new age is. Sometimes they'll say new thought, and of course they'll call it witchcraft, and it is happening a whole lot where we call anything that is not able to be a part of the traditions of the church to be witchcraft. And even things of science, we'll call it witchcraft. We'll call things of consciousness witchcraft. And the thing that you have to know is that the very things that they do in the church itself would be closer related to how they would be viewed as witchcraft, or the things that would perform would be viewed as witchcraft in the church itself. Bishop Mason was a person that laid on hands, and he would dance around and he would sing and he would do things that we would call conjuring, right? And a lot of that came from African African spiritualism, right? Things that we would do in Africa. And we brought it with us. A lot of it we brought with us, and it has been demonized by um, it was demonized first by the colonizers. Then the church itself began to demonize a lot of our practices. In the meantime, we have our own processes in the church where we shout, right? We dance, we bring instruments, right? And for the last 100 years, roughly, not even the last 100 years, you have the Pentecostal movement. I think 190, the Azusa movement. Pentecostalism goes back a little further, but the Azusa Pentecostal movement in Acts 2 and 4, Upper Room, all those different things, and we really have a vision in our head that the people in the Bible were doing what we were doing. But if you were really to go back to the Bible era and the Bible time, and you were to actually see what they were doing, it would be way closer to being seen or viewed as something mystical and something more like witchcraft than it would be actually a Hammond B3 organ, a black pastor carrying a tune, call and response, doing that sort of thing. That is us. It has nothing to do with scripture at all. That is us. There's a cool little thing I would like to show you as I think our guest is preparing. Um, but this might be a real interesting take when you think about expanded consciousness and you think about us, because a lot of the people I follow and the information I'm following and the things that I'm following in terms of consciousness, there's not a lot of us. There's not a lot of, if you go watch a Joe Dispenza conference, there's not a lot of us at the Joe Dispenza conference, right? There's not a lot of us at on Gaia or even interested. And hopefully my guest will roll in, but I want you to see something real quick. And I think you will really get a lot out of this, because the goal is not to bash, especially the Black church. There he is. It's not to bash the Black church, but one of the things I would like for us to know, let's go. We're going to move over here to this. If you are watching tonight, right now, I want to make sure you will like the post, comment, maybe state where you're from, and don't be afraid to share. I would, maybe, if you got some people that don't like information that they would call heretic or they would call witchcraft, because that's what we're going to talk about. Anyways, real quick, I'm gonna show you this. Our guest is here, but and so check out this. Share my screen. Check this out. You guys are gonna like this. I love the Pew Research Center. I like data. Black Americans are more likely than overall public to be Christian, Protestant, but Protestant just means basically what most Black people are. Black people don't even understand what a Protestant is versus what a Methodist is. You know, they do know that Catholics, which they don't consider Christians, or Jehovah's Witnesses, they don't consider Christian. They understand that. Islam, they understand that those are not Christian. But Black people are Protestants. But Black people are more likely, and then the Pew Research Center has it right. They always refer people as Black American, not African Americans, because African Americans is completely, totally, 100% wrong in terms of when you want to refer to American that just so happens to be Black. I promise you, that's a whole nother conversation. Because what happens is when you have European Americans, or when you have white people that have come over to this country when there were actually Black Americans or Black natives or natives that were Black, right? Then you have natives. Yes, that happened. That's what is true 100%. But the thing is like they all of a sudden, that's why it's American pride, America. And the reason why they say that and they have that is because they want to own it. We own it just like they own it. It is our country, just like you would consider it their country, which was more invaded by, Black Americans are more likely to be, and don't get it twisted. This also ties in our belief system and the way we act ties in to our expansion of who we are and expanded consciousness, and then allowing us to be connected to spirituality and consciousness, because there's so much more that we are capable of when we realize who we are, what we are. And you don't just have all these people that are rich and wealthy looking back at us and like, oh yeah, y'all go to church and y'all go shout and dance and act a freaking fool while we run you. But if you look at this right now, they're saying that Black people are just more Christian than any other race. I'm gonna bring my guest on. What's up, doctor?
Hey, my brother, all is well.
I'm gonna just bring you in. They already got me on a tangent.
I feel your vibe, and that is a very interesting report that you're bringing, and yet very true.
Look
Very,
at that.
very true.
53% in this research, Black people are historical Black Protestants. And look at that, evangelical Protestants. Mainline, like there's more, look at that, compared to Hispanics, which they're going to be Catholic. Look at white people. Can you see that? You guys see that there?
Wow.
This data, let me see if I can put it on there and zoom that in for us. Data is data. And the thing is where am I? There's a point to all of this. Because if you look at, here's what I'm going to tell you. If we look at all this data right here, in terms of Black Protestant people, and you look at the data, white people would be more wealthy in our country just simply because of what they did, dated back from whenever they come to our country. But if you look at look at the Asians and how mixed up the Asian community is. There are more billionaires in China than anywhere, right?
Right.
And more of your wealthy billionaires are in America, but you can have per capita, you can have a lot of Asian billionaires in China. But if you just look in America and you look at this, so what does this mean? And so we're going to get a little bit into, there's some really interesting data. This guy here, if you ever get a chance, you want to go really nerd out on some of the stuff that I'm nerding out on, is Bashir Muhammad, who is the lead researcher at Pew Research Center on religion. And he does a lot to do with Muslims, and he does a lot to do with Black folks. So if I'm not mistaken, this is probably some of his actual research. He's a scientist, and this is a really, really, really cool. I'll copy this and paste this into the chat so that you guys have this, because what does this actually mean? And what does this mean for us as we talk about, I don't know if you, Dr. Clapp, I'm going to bring you up here.
You know what? It means we've got to do some decolonizing and deconstructing. That's what it means to me. Because when you deal with a system, that means every connecting part is there and doing this part for the desired end result of those that structured the system and who benefit from the system. Okay? And that's the elite. No poor person structured Christianity. No poor person, they couldn't read. Only an educated individuals structured the governmental foundations to Christianity. And eugenics was a part of that foundation. And America has the Roman Christian aspect, because you got the Ethiopian Christian, you got the Spanish Christian, and what have you. Um, but we got the Roman Christian, which eugenics is the foundation to it in this country. And so when you look at that, we have a lot of decolonizing to do and deconstructing. I made a statement, Malachi. I said, we don't need to get rid of our churches. We do not. We need all of the centers that we have, 5 churches on that makes up on 2 blocks. Okay. All right. But what we need to do is change the message.
Mm.
We need to decolonize the pastors. We need to decolonize the governmental structure. We need to decolonize our churches, because all it has done was help to maintain the system that continues to separate and exploit and separate us from our own individual selves, much less racial and ethnic wise.
Would you say? Would you say then, if we restructure or if we revisit this, and you look at Ethiopian Orthodox Christianity, right? Or you look at I believe that's what Bishop or Archbishop Ash, I believe he was Orthodox, right?
Mhm.
And so it's a whole different process or thinking process. Even they talk about Jesus from that perspective and what Jesus had actually explored and went to versus what the Romans have basically we have picked up from um, the Romans and then moving into America, formulating the North and then the South Christianity, right? What I would like to do is you might not have seen this, and first, what I want to let everybody know is that um, you are a person that was able to work with Bishop Carlton Pearson
Oh yeah, that's my
as he
HC.
came through,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
You had left the church or the system, the way the church, and began to explore this over what 40 years ago or so.
yeah. Since 1995, when I renounced being a Christian to my congregation.
Right. So you renounced being a Christian, and but whenever Bishop Pearson actually, I guess, was it? I wasn't sure if he had just lost the church, but you brought him to
I brought him to
uh,
Greensboro. Yep,
Greensboro, North Carolina,
that's right.
right?
Yeah,
And you guys had like you had something, didn't you? You had a conference or
yeah.
um
It was the summit. hmm we did
okay.
the summit and brought him, and we actually used a white United Methodist church in my neighborhood, and we used that and brought him, and that was when his first book release
Mm,
came forth, and it was really really just absolutely beautiful. And I had prophesied to him that uh, I spoke it publicly, and I told him, I said, Carlton, I said I'm going to use this term. I said Hollywood is going to revisit you. Oh wow. Malachi, you are something else. Oh my God. He had spoken at Winston-Salem State when we took that picture. Oh my God. And so um, wow, man, you got me. Oh, that just oh my God. I love myself, Carlton Pearson. He was truly an authentic person, truly. But yeah, we brought him here, and so that he'll know that he's not alone and that his words don't fall on deaf ears, and that I have been expanding long before he stepped out and began to come forth. But he was always questioning. He just had to continue to play the game in order to keep his economics flowing until he couldn't take it any longer.
Yeah.
He had to be true to himself.
Yes. And so, and then you followed him throughout the years,
Yeah,
and
bring him
one,
back here.
you know, um, you were the you were probably one of the first people during his transition, I believe. But you reach out to me,
You
and
got photographic memory.
and then you actually had me on your show,
Yeah,
uh, and us being able to really, and you've been doing expanded consciousness for a while, and us being able to come together and being able to do this is not only an honor to him, but an honor to the work.
yes,
And the
yes.
fact that he went through so much, and so many people go through so much, but he went through so much
Hmm.
and could not necessarily be as free. And now that we have the internet and we have the ability to really research and really look for ourselves and really actually look at the data, right? And there's still more data to collect. But we were having you and I were having a conversation the other day, and it really just resonated with me. And I don't know, I don't think you've seen this, but this is something that this is something that I've typed up, and I want you to kind of see this. Hopefully this is the full thing. Maybe it's not, but um and this is, we get it confused with sage and crystals, new age and new thought, but it's time that we wake up and evolve and realize that the emotions in the black church is child's play to the big evolving picture. And so I say that is because there's a lot of people like they turn either back to the church. Only thing within the black church that we understand as spirituality is church. But the people that have been in the church for a long time, and or black people such as yourself and people such as Carlton Pearson, um, are having these uh, uh, kind of like an expanded way of thinking, and you're having a epiphany. You're having these
Right.
reflections. You haven't you've done it for long enough to realize or understand that, wait a minute, something is not right, or something doesn't resonate. And like you said, it's not necessarily just to throw it away. Carlton had this term he called metacostal, and
Yeah.
so it's like he's realizing and resonating with the Pentecostal experience, right? And but understanding that there's more. We have the ability to expand because uh we you can see us jump, shout, dance, and do all that. But then when you back away from the church, you're going back to the job with a man. You going, you still not you're not expanding outside of just being able to go back to that church and do what you're doing. But we're talking about expanded consciousness, and I want you to elaborate in your words, because you have an expanded conscious community. You have even a facility that I believe in it is, you've had the
Greensboro. Yeah, in
expanded
Greensboro.
conscious, um,
Yeah,
not church, but you had the expanded conscious summit, and then you had
yeah, yeah. And the Center for Expanding Conscious is what we call it.
tell me about, like, in relation to what we have experienced as the church and doing that. But then as we progress and we move and we want to be able to understand what's the purpose? Why do we need to expand? Why do we need to look at our consciousness difference? One thing I remember you said, you was like, we call it the Holy Spirit, but now they didn't have the word uh, They didn't have the words we had, and they definitely didn't have or understand energy.
That's exactly right.
You know,
Exactly right.
expand on when you were talking to me, and you were talking about the words in of from the Bible, and as we read these scriptures, supposedly what they have said or done, but they didn't have this level of consciousness, and they definitely didn't know what energy was.
That's exactly right. They did not. Uh, and 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 because I am in this dimensional consciousness, this versus where, let's say, Samson was when supposedly the Holy Spirit came upon him and caused him to do supposedly great exploits, this type thing. Uh, we would know a little different today because we have science, and science like to ask the question what and why, and like to get the answers about that. So they're going to research and test and research and test. So they're going to do that. uh Spirit, Holy Spirit is more external. Now in life there is the feminine and the masculine that is encased in a gender body. There is a feminine and a masculine that is encased in a fish body. There is a feminine and a masculine that is encased in fruit trees. There's a feminine and masculine that is encased in Jupiter. Those are the primal energies, and that exist in the entire universe and outside of the universe, called the void, that is in equilibrium. And the consciousness resides within it. And therefore, to say spirit is going to come, that means you're adding something else. Well, when the feminine and masculine come together, they end up producing, or source consciousness, however you want to say it, producing an individualized life. That's the third. Now, what we were given about the Trinity, we'll know Trinity. We'll know Trinity at all, basically, if you look at it, because the soul is what gives us consciousness. And from the soul, we get the consciousness of the divine and into the universal consciousness that breaks us down to have a body consciousness, where each of our organs have a set of consciousness within itself. And that every cell in the body has consciousness within it. And if you look at the anatomy of it, it is the feminine and the masculine energies, no spirit. And so spirit, that was Trinity, that was made up and produced and given to us, kept us always seeking outside of ourselves and never allowing us to come within. And even the scripture says you adorn yourself from the hidden person. And I don't like the terms that they use in the Bible anyway a lot, because they use the term with the gender called man. And see, now that's stupid within itself, because man represents humanity, human beings, and also represents the male factor. And a hidden man of the heart, I would have said a hidden, well, today I would I would have said your soul. Your soul is what's always been there. But the soul does not need an identity. The ego needs the identity for the sake of helping us to maneuver in the 3D world. So the soul needs no identity. So it can't be hurt, it can't be damaged, and it can't be lost. it needs no identity, so it's not going to be hurt. It needs no identity, so it's not going to create and develop a need to control anybody or anything.
Mm.
This is why we have a need to control, is because we have identity crisis. We get many identities as we move on in this earth. And it is absolutely possible, because I'm walking it, that you can live without having an identity. Now, I didn't say that others will not project an identity from you. That's fine. But I do not have to, what's the term? Ingest that identity as being me, because I know that is not who I am. That is what they identify me by, but that's not who I am.
Mm.
And so Christianity and most organized religions are big on identities. That's why they always have a need to control everybody and exploit all the wealth and human resources from them
Mm.
to control. That's why Europe is huge on statues, huge on all types of figurines and all types of window stained glass, because of identity. And all that's a part of the system to control people's mind. I give you your identity, I define your identity, and I categorize your identity. And I reward you based upon the acceptance of your identity, or I punish you based upon you not accepting your identity or categorization. That's the system of reward and punishment that's built into all religion, organized religion. And
Mm.
so I took a step from it. So it is difficult for you to self-actualize and self-realize when you're worshiping something externally, because you put a value on that which you're worshiping. Therefore, you devalue everything else that is the result of that you worship. And you call it unclean. You call it the devil. You call it nasty. You call it, you see what I'm saying? So this is what has been done. And this is why people become so psychotic, because they don't know who they are. I think Diana Ross played in a movie called, I think it was Sybil. And she had several personalities, several identities that she gave into. And as I watched that picture, that movie, and as she moved from one identity to the next identity, to the next identity, these are vibrational frequencies that are in operation based on that identity. And that vibration is recreating the same scenarios based on that identity. So people have an identity at work that they don't have an identity at home. Folk have an identity at church that they don't have an identity at the club with. They have Folk have an identity from trauma that they don't take on that they don't have their identity when it comes to happiness. Because folk get identities through what they traumatize themselves in, through, and by, and through what their economics can attain,
Mm.
and get them access into this Ivy League school, and identity is given. Get access into this political organization, and identity is given. Get access into this secret organization, uh, we may can call it, uh, uh, give me a name of the history. Jay-Z, the Illuminati.
Illuminati, yeah.
See,
Freeman.
identity. And if you look at the scripture, just observe observe Yeshua the Christ in the scripture. Just observe it. Just go through your mind right quick and look at it. He didn't even live with an identity. He didn't even take on an identity. He made the question, well, who the folk think that I am?
Mm,
He just used the term,
mm,
who do people say that I am? I'm paraphrasing. Well, who do people think that I am? In other words, what identities are they giving to me that I don't have for my own self? So he was able to live a balanced, more of a balanced, vibrational balanced life because he knew his frequencies. He understood his bodily vibrational frequency. And he wasn't interested in identity. Now, when he would operate through an overcharged ego, and when he would take on an identity, is when he cursed that fig tree.
mm.
He sinned. He missed the mark. He missed the mark when he cursed that fig tree. He was angry. He had just come, he had been out of the wilderness, so he was very well charged, and his spirituality was increasing. So homeboy is still developing. He's still developing. He wasn't born like that. He developed into the Christ. And so he cursed the fig tree. And the disciples were astounded when they come back and saw that it had withered. But he should not have cursed the fig tree. But he took on an identity. And then he had to learn from that by saying, and what he learned was, the more spiritually awakened you become, the faster your words manifest. That's what he took from that. He learned by that. Now, the church took that, the organized religion took that and made it into a miracle. And it wasn't a miracle at all. That's something that you should not do. You don't curse that which gives you life. See, expanding consciousness means to increase upon what you have already been given, but you research to find not only the truth, but the motive behind that. Because motive is everything. The motive determines the intent. And unfortunately, our organized religion don't ever deal with the motive except for when it has to do with money.
Mm.
Yep. Because organized religion, as relates to our religion that we worked with, and I still attend churches and have worship services and worship with them, and still enjoy the presence and what have you. It's just that I do it from a more expanded awareness and a oneness than a separation. I don't beg source for nothing. I just communicate with my soul. Your soul is what connects you to the source divine consciousness. And without that, we would just be mere animal instinct with a physical consciousness. But because we have a soul, everybody is connected to the divine consciousness. Everybody. Yeah. I'm gonna tell you, I had some I began to deal with this virgin birth thing. Because see, I cannot, for the life of me, I cannot, I used to plead the blood. I used to do the blood thing with demons and the blood for healing and the blood. I mean, I was no better than those who would sacrifice babies and children, which is a blood offering sacrifice. And so I began to look at this virgin birth thing. I looked at it without my indoctrinating belief filters. And I began to research and saw in Kemet that women have always did, certain women did, in order to produce a male child, and in order to produce a child that's in the elite class, they would take the sperm from that man and would put it up in them, and they never had sex with a man. And that's where this virgin birth thing comes from. But now here's the kicker, and I want you to tell me what you think about this. Aristotle and Plato was trained by the Kemet Egyptians, from Kemet to Egyptian name changed by the Greeks, was trained by the African sages. All right. In 400 BC, they had coined the term eugenics before Yeshua came on the scene.
Mm-hmm.
Right? All right. If you understand eugenics, you're understanding the fitted ones or the well-born ones, which has to do with, and this is how they come up with this eugenics thing, that the blue bloods, those who own mass amount of land, those who own slaves, those who had massive amount of wealth, money, and power, those who were very educated, they were considered born genetically from that bloodline that produced that type of intellect, that type of pretty to the eyes, skin, no birth defects whatsoever is to be found, upon the body of the individual. And so these individuals were considered well born. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Almost like perfect. So so to develop this Jesus Christ story and this immaculate conception, eugenics was around during that time of developing this story. And in order for Yeshua to be a king and to become the King of Kings, and he never ever identified himself as a king at all and never desired it anyway, right? So to be well born, that means elite, to be of the elite race or group of people, because race wasn't a factor at that time. That didn't come into effect until about the 16th and 17th century. And in the 17th century, between 16th and 17th century, white race came into effect. But eugenics was already there in Europe. The word was already coined. The intelligentsia of the European society was already discussing genetics, eugenics. So Yeshua, the story is developed that God, who is omniscient, the wisest, smartest of all there is, the king of over all kings, and no other gods can be beside him or above him, has sex with a 16-year-old, well, 15, between 15, 16-year-old virgin girl. We're talking about eugenics, genics. We're talking about genes. We're talking about the eugenic, well-born, elite individual. So he's born without a male factor. So he's automatically a king of kings because it dates back to the throne of David due to the mother. And the structure is being set up. And since eugenics was coined by Aristotle and Plato, which were Europeans, race was going to become a factor and was already becoming a factor. After the Greeks, after the Romans took over the Greeks, and then Constantine comes in and takes over the Romans. Race was becoming a factor. And so when I look at the story, I see the foundations to eugenics. This is why the name had to be changed from Yeshua, because that's too much of a common African name, to Jesus, which means the son of Zeus, which is the Greek god, who is white, identity, image, the whole 9 yards. And so he's given all of this type of stage, structure, and all the wording around it, packaged it together, and forced it upon the people. Now the disciples structured their own thing. Peter had issues with Paul. Paul had issues with Silas. They had issues, and they departed and began to structure. James, the brother of Yeshua. So when I look at the foundation of this and looking at these people beginning to develop in this expanding consciousness that Yeshua presented, because it was not the original dense vibrational energy of Hebrew or Judaism. It was a higher esoterical teachings that brought everybody back to themselves, to their soul, to their soul. That worshiping anything external, since the scripture already told us, what it was said in the New Testament that you are only to, they would say, come, let's go to the mountains to worship. Let's go to Jerusalem to worship. And Yeshua says, yeah, but they that worship in, he used the term spirit and in truth. Well, what is he talking about, spirit? Your soul. The word soul wasn't coined at that time. They understood spirit. They don't understand soul. So they could relate to that. And it was relatable for them when he said, worship in spirit and in truth. What's that truth? The authenticity of the self of you. versus an organized group with an identity given, and you end up becoming that which is not of the true essence of yourself. So I begin to look at that, and that's when I stopped doing the blood thing. I stopped taking communion. I said, I am not accountable. I don't sacrifice, and I would not give my child to any deity just so that I could be blessed.
Mm. Are they, and really, were they being blessed, or is it really just part of the grand system? And now the system has been magnified so greatly
Yes,
through
it has.
social media and television and everything else that I don't know how much spirit is involved versus the effects of capitalism, right?
Well, Christianity actually undergirds capitalism. And this is why all the emphasis is upon give your life to Jesus, to God through Jesus, and you will be blessed. And blessings are always deemed external, that only
Mm,
comes from the system through which the elite owns and controls. And therefore, they are actually taking the place of God.
mm.
God ain't giving you nothing. Everything is already here. You create. But they had to stamp that out. Because once you start creating, the lies that they have been telling about the history of the country and the history of inventions, uh, folk will end up basically wanting to destroy the government and set up a whole new government and a whole new system, which eventually is coming to that.
Right. And I think that's the reason why the government has embraced so much of religion. It's work hand in hand, is because that's one of the things that I look at as the church as a whole. And then for me and for us coming from the black church, it's like, where where's the expansion outside of a new song, outside of, you know, getting a better job maybe, and then you end up before in the car, then you say God did it. Where's the inventions, and where's the expanded, if God is from the church aspect and everything that's there, where is it when the elite people on the planet allows us to go do what we do? You've seen it right there. The data says it over 50%. There are more black Christians than any other race, Protestant. And but when you look at how this world is evolving, I don't see us assisting outside of, it's like, in other words, what I'm saying is this keeping us blocked? Is this keeping us, we think that we go in here, we shout and we dance and do all that, but then how is it actually changing our lives? You know, one of the guys that I have been following, and he says, Neuro Knowledge, he says, um, if spirituality, if your spirituality doesn't change some levels of reality, is it vanity?
Woo, woo.
Is it vanity? Or you know how we used to sing, "Is my living in vain?" And it's like you shouting and dancing and doing all that, going back eating crap, then you going back to the church to shout and dance and pray about your diagnosis. And then you go into a doctor who could care less about, yeah, God gives the physician, he gives the doctors, he gonna guide his hand. But what if he's a non-Christian? Oh, he's still gonna guide his hand. It's kind of like bypassing, spiritual bypassing. We go in, we spiritual bypass, and we don't look at our abilities and our connection to the divine, to the infinite intelligence, as Dr. Beyonce just said too. I love that word
I
for
do too.
God, um, which is infinite,
Yeah.
and not necessarily look at the progression. Right. One of the things that I know for a fact in the state of consciousness, outside of religion, in the state of consciousness, our engineers, scientists, including doctors, like physicians, um, especially our computer scientists and engineers, are the ones that are actually creating a world. They're the ones actually digging deep, and some of them are not necessarily Christians, but they're believers. They're spiritualists. And the thing is they're able to use this divine power, this divine knowledge, this divine understanding to create applications thus that we are very using right now today, communicating and being able to have a conversation with 30 people throughout the whole world. And here it is, we going back to this church shouting, dancing, jumping, and doing all that. And what is it doing for us? Like, besides it's a level of emotion. I know it's a level of expression. We get to do what we get to do, and nobody
And
tells us
and
what
it
to
does
do.
increase their vibration.
And it does increase your vibration.
Yeah.
But the thing is it's like, how much is it
But
moving
there's
the
no
needle?
clarity.
Yes.
So therefore, without clarity, you cannot get any inventions. You
Well,
keep on
wouldn't it
doing
be,
the
and
same
the
thing
structure
over
though
again.
too, like
Right.
the structure, as in, like, wait a minute, you shouldn't do this, and you shouldn't do this, and you shouldn't do this, and you shouldn't say this, and you shouldn't do, and they got all these shouldn't do's, but you get to do this, right? You get to do this part right here. It's the clarity. It's also the fear. It's also the guilt and the shame that
Yep.
says, no, you're not to do this, and no, you're not to do that, but you can only do this, and you have to have this man, you have to have this pastor, and this pastor tells you this. And it's like, really what it comes down to is, do we really know do we really know God?
No, because it's difficult to know source. To have it, I like this term, to have a knowing of source without having a knowing of yourself. It's very difficult. The only reason I had a knowing of myself, of source, is because I had out of body experiences, being in
Mm,
realities at the same time, and literally knowing where I was and knowing when I left and where I was. And and therefore I realized this cannot be, because it was immeasurable anyway. Say, but this cannot be except that's my this is the I of me that is able to ascend into a much more higher dimension with a higher vibrational frequency, and to get and to have such such load, we call it download, but such to be downloaded with such knowing, and at the same time the clarity is there, and you actually know what is given, versus here you have to go through such process, whereas on the other side it is instantaneous. All because literally we are nothing but consciousness beings. That's what we are. We're basically conscious, and awareness and consciousness are the same term.
hmm
Can't have one without the other, you know. So it's imperative that human beings expand in their from their archaic religious dogma, because you see, spirituality enables you to self-govern, because you're coming from within, and you will not do unto others what you don't want done to you. Whereas organized beliefs are external, you have to be governed, because when that belief does not fulfill or manifest into your present day reality, then you're going to tap some folk going to tap something. You see what I mean? Because they feel and think that their belief is absolute. Spiritual people understand the yin and the yang, understand the blessing and the curse. You can't have one without the other. Understand the uncertainties, always hanging around the certainties, the for certain. That's the way the universe operates. The poles are here, the electromagnetic poles. It's always a two that is harmonized in balance and is set in equilibrium. And we go into equilibrium a lot. Well, I wouldn't say a lot, but we go into equilibrium when we get into that void in our mind. And that's when the aha moment happens. That's when we get a clear understanding of a question that we've been thinking on all week. That's when we get that phone call instantly. Just as soon as we thought up the person, they dial. Because you vibrate at a higher frequency when you're in that equilibrium. Because you're producing another individualized experience.
What is the message or the word for people that have started this deconstructing process, understanding and looking at this expanded consciousness, and I think they want to find a place of understanding and knowing, and not second guess themselves, right? Because one of the things is the church pulls on you, the elements of the church pull on you, the atmosphere pulls on you, right? And there's a lot of people that are, they still need community. That's why we have this. But yet though they are still ready to know that they are to be free, know they're free, not feel the guilt, fear, shame, you know, being able to, you know, what is it that you do or have done that has enriched your relationship and has helped you grow in this space? One of them, I think, of course, is these out of body experiences. And I think you were probably doing some things that led to that, some practices maybe that led to being able to open up and explore and allow yourself to do that.
I'm more fine-tuned to my intuition. I am becoming more and more synchronized and knowing my body frequency, my frequency, the frequency of my soul, which has to do with the frequency of my body. Whereas before I wasn't aware of that. I wasn't even aware that I was an energy being. All I know was I was flesh, spirit, and bones. Well, flesh, spirit, and what else? Something else.
But you said an energy being.
Yeah. I didn't know I was an energy being with consciousness. Because energy was not a part of my tutelage, of my indoctrination. I saw spirits because that was my indoctrination. I mean, if you think about it, why African Americans are the most um, committed to Christianity than the white folk that created the stuff. Um, it was the only
Mm.
it was the only thing that the elite knew and understood would be able to govern us. That's why we're the only group of people that have more churches than we do businesses.
Mm.
All right, because we were allowed to get a 501c3 under the tutelage and under the watchful eye of a white Protestant minister. But they knew what it would do for our mental capacity and how it would slack up the killings that was the revolts that was going on by the African American slaves. Get them saved, they become docile. That word is an English word is used that they will be easier to handle. That's why we are so committed to Christianity because we thought
Ooh.
that it was through Christianity. We may have gotten some freedom, but we didn't get any liberation.
Mm. Mm.
Because whoever sets you free can show hell bind, can also bind you back up or bound you back up,
And when you really think about it, outside of sports,
right? And
outside of
music.
s- outside of sports, which there are very few in comparison to the population, there are the whole population, there are very few people that make it at the top in sports. But outside of sports, the church is one of the most successful or the most
Yep.
as far as the most well known or way that you could be a everyday individual
Yep.
and generate an audience. I mean, and if you have a pastor that has a church of 1,000 people, he's 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 doing well. He's got that Cadillac. He's doing well. You know, people are donating. Someone recently told me a friend of mine that I'm working with, former Senator Kevin Matthews, was talking about you talk about the black church and what we're capable, or black people and what we're capable of. And he's like, you can go to some of the poorest neighborhoods and see that they have all come together to raise that $1-2 million to build that building.
That's right. Back in the Depression, we built right here in Greensboro a tremendous, uh, similar to cathedral, black, the black style of cathedral.
Yeah. I mean, heck, if you look at Bishop Mason and Mason Temple in Memphis, and I don't know, it could, they built that and it could seat 5,000.
You look at Richard Adams,
Yeah.
Adam that started the AME,
Yes.
built tremendous edifice, Mother
Yeah.
Zion, and then there's Mother Zion up in New York. And when you look at that, you see the freedom that's allotted, but it's
Oh,
without liberation.
yeah.
You still don't have any self-determination. You're being governed
Mm.
by the belief system that exploits your human resource as well as your resource. And it all goes to the elite at the top.
Mm.
We got freedom, but no liberation.
What is liberation?
Liberation is more of a wholeness of freedom. It's within and it is without. It is first within. A friend of mine said the revolution starts within. That's the evolution. And out from the evolution comes the revolution. Liberation is a state of being.
Mm.
It's an awareness, a knowing that is second nature. Self-determination is in liberation.
Mm. I think that one of the things is why I do what I do, and I think you do what you do, is um, following that inner
Yes.
spirit, but also understanding that the evolution of who we are must evolve. And although those institutions are big, and although that we still may have things that resonate with us, right? That's how we end up with how Bishop Carlton would say Metacostal. It still resonates with us, and the institution of the church organization is it's part of the government, it's part of the system. So it's hard to really evolve. But I believe and I understand that um, we have to. I believe we keep pushing forward, we keep believing, we keep trusting, and we keep expanding, right? Um, on ourselves, and we keep expanding on our offerings as in what we are here to do outside and what we can or what we're capable of
Yeah.
outside of having a good word,
Yeah.
um and
Yeah.
empowering the powerless, or empowering those who have a word. There's many of people in that follow um this within this community. I appreciate everyone that has maintained and managed, you know. um we're bouncing around between 25 to 30 people, right? Throughout the country right now. And my thing is, people come in and out from different places. And my thing is like people that are tapping in and tuning into this, they're not just everyday lay people. These are people that are active. These are people that are either have ministries or have businesses or organizations or something. And so you know, I understand that there is a community of people in these spaces that I consider kind of like co-founders, right? And and it's up on us to have words and have the things that we have up on our heart, right? And actually be inspired to go do something with yourself, right?
Mhm.
Do something. Don't just sit around, right? And actually, we using the word manifest or manifestation and law of attraction and all those words. I remember when The Secret came out, and literally they were talking to me like around churches and things that they was like, do not watch it. Don't watch
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I
Don't
had
watch it.
I had those who, because my congregation had went from over 200 down to about 20 to 15 to 5. And at that time, I think it was about 25 of them or 30. I had them over here in my living room to watch The Secret. I brought them in the living room so that they can watch The Secret. Yeah. See, freedom keeps you in a parameter and you follow this. Liberation takes you beyond the parameter and enable you to create, because order is from within. Expansion of consciousness is holistic. You just cannot expand and say, I'm spiritual, and you're dumb as hell.
That's happening.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
You
Ain't able
know,
to do nothing. That's happening, and you see it in the church all day. Like, the only thing you could do is you could come in here and and do all you do in here, but then when you get outside of here, like, are you growing? Do we recognize if you know what I mean? Like, time out here, and that's one thing that I do recognize and realize that actually I've always had a problem with the church is the fact that there's usually only one person or a certain group of people that really excel even outside the church. That really, really excel, and um, I think the whole purpose of us moving us forward and having these discussions and having this openness and realizing and seeing these platforms and this opportunity, being able to you in Greensboro, I'm in Tulsa, right? And we're
uh,
able to actually confer and come together and have
yeah,
a conversation and open up people and their abilities and let them know that one thing for sure, the minute that you really have a convergence, the minute that you have an understanding in this, matter of fact, you actually have, this is the spirit, you have a business, right?
yeah,
A courier business.
right.
And did that carrier business, like, actually you've had certain levels of success, wouldn't you say, as in like being able to manifest some things or see some things or get more business, right?
Yep.
Do you think any of your practices had anything to do with that?
Yes.
Any manifestation or law of attraction involved?
Yes. Every day. Yes. Definitely. Absolutely. You know, organized religion separates. So they call that secular knowledge. But that's
Yes.
stupid. It's absolutely ludicrous, absurd to separate that and put a lesser value to it, but you put a higher value to the word religion, to the word God. And yet, if God is all, in all, through all, and nothing exists without it, and it's in everything, then you really can't place a value on nothing. You accept the essence of the reality of it and function with it instead of placing a value. But religion, organized religion, has a value on everything that's religion, and everything that's not religion, they devalue. And if you go get that knowledge, they start
Hmm.
isolating because you got to talk religion.
Yeah.
You can't even talk Beyonce. You can't even talk about the Beyonce album. You can't you can't something my soul. You can't,
Yeah. Or even talk about Beyonce and Beyonce, Jay-Z and business.
right?
You know, being able to talk or communicate about certain things that people are doing without it being conspiracy, right? Oh, and and uh and my thing is, I always had a problem personally. I always had a problem with, they say only what you do for Christ will last, and they would say all
Oh,
these different things,
please. I
these
remember
cliches
those
about the
days.
church.
I remember
And yet
singing the
though,
song.
we in here broke, busted, and pretty much everybody in here is working minimal jobs and rubbing nickels together. But yet though, anybody that's outside of the church that's doing well that don't go, sooner or later they're gonna need us, or sooner or later they're gonna, you know, or they may not get their, they're gonna have to pay the price whenever they leave this earth. And we truly end up missing it, missing our opportunity to understand the power of the spirit, understand that as you expand your consciousness and understand that there's power in not only just understanding, but being able to be open, right? And talk about the levels of consciousness, being able to be open in terms of uh, uh, higher levels of consciousness, which is joy and love, acceptance, right? And the highest one being enlightenment. And you can actually reach levels of enlightenment. Matter of fact, feel enlightenment happening right now all over this
Mm.
room and in this space, and the enlightenment is happening right now where all
Woo.
you people are in your
Woo.
homes right now,
Mm.
right?
Woo. Did
And
you
we're
feel
not
that,
going to
Chris?
just sit back and have this
Mm.
conversation and just feel a certain thing. You can begin to, as they would talk about, expect certain things to change as we begin to change our vibration,
Mm.
right? Because God is really just a frequency,
Mm.
right?
With consciousness.
It's energy. So you got to be able to recognize, like, when you are at a lower vibration.
Mm-hmm.
And not only that, you're healing, right?
Mm-hmm.
Joe Dispenza does not bring up, he does not bring up in his talks, he don't bring up God.
Mm-hmm.
But if you go and look and you hear about what Joe Dispenza is doing, and he's saying that people are moving and basically moving out the old self, don't bring up God, but they're moving out of the own self. And they're moving and they're beginning to understand what they desire, what they want. They begin to bring that and pull that into the feeling into their life right now today, right?
Mm-hmm.
And what's happening is people are being healed of cancer. Just the miracles that we've been truly wanting to happen in the church, they're happening. They're truly happening outside the church right now as people begin to understand the divineness of consciousness, the divineness of who they are, right? Realizing the internal God versus the external God, right? You got to do it for me. I'll let your will be done. God's will is your will if you can tune into that
That's
vibration of
pretty much
frequency.
the truth. That's pretty much the truth there.
If you tune into the vibration of, what are you saying, that you're not supposed to be or want to be healed? People, I'll tell you right now today, Carlton Pearson was done. Carlton Pearson was completely 100% okay with what was taking place. He was
Yep.
like, he didn't want to do anything. No, he was totally fine.
He was
After
finished.
going through what he went through, and after everything he experienced, and after being sick, and after even in his last years, I remember sitting back and recording his birthday, March of 2023. And I have the camera and I'm live. And you could go watch it on his page. And in that moment, as I was recording, he was going to get sick 2 months later. And I said, this does not feel right.
Wow. You felt it. Wow.
This
Mm.
does not feel right. I've experienced, after you experience transition and death, like a lot, it's not that you get numb to it, but you get connected to it. Even right now, today, I'm not
You
dealing so
align with
much.
it. Yeah, you align with it.
I'm aligned. I'm not dealing that much with his transition because of the fact that he's always around. He's always connecting. And then he's always, I mean, he hasn't really left because I was able to be in his presence so much, And so one of the things that I do know 100% is that, as they say, the struggle is real, abundance is real. As they say, they sit back and they talked about the economy so much last year. Oh, the economy's bad. Oh, the economy's bad. And the market was doing well.
Of course.
Profits, record breaking profits for all of the major Fortune companies, 100, 500, 1,000 companies, major profits, right? They were all just complaining about and talking about economy. And the thing is like, yeah, you keep on talking about it. And there was a lot of people getting very wealthy, and there's a lot of people that's not. And the thing is man, shifting your energy or being able to shift your energy, being able to shift who you are as you are in
Mhm.
this moment, especially whenever I consider this January. We like to have these monumental things as though they can mean something. It's only a calendar for taxes, really. Your physical year ends in December. You know, January, everybody's going to do your taxes, and so therefore, it's like a quote fresh start. My thing is that I want and truly can believe one of the things that I would see within the prosperity gospel is that you hardly, in my experience, because I was around it, went to Oral Roberts for crying out loud. And in my experience, there was not a lot of, it wasn't like you had a multi-level marketing where you have like all these people coming up. Yeah, he's got diamond and he's got gold. And then all of a sudden, you got all these people that are just being so successful and things are working out. And like, I never did really experience that. I mean, they had a couple of testimonies that they would have so they would get more donations. When I was at Oral Roberts, I remember they would be like, yeah, he comes up there and he's like, his student loan, I mean, all of his schools pay for, and he's one out of a million people that's going that usually
That's very true.
would happen. and
Yes,
and
sir.
so my thing is like, I don't, having this community and having as we grow, especially all together, because I see expanded consciousness and everything and efforts of what you have going on. I see Bishop Jamel on here, uh what he has. We had Miss Dort no, Miss Ivanka,
Oh yeah, Dr. B. Yeah,
Dr.
Bianca.
B, who was just on your show. She was on here. Miss Dorothy Inez has a practice, and like all the different people that are involved in this. I'm sorry, but I do not want to see people just following me and all they do is suffer, constantly in suffering, constantly dealing with life's challenges. And I'm
You
here to
know
tell you,
something?
we have them, but you
But you
don't
know
have to live in
something?
it.
Um, we have to have contrast.
Yes.
Without the contrast, there is no creativity at all.
Mm,
So we have to have that. But there's a difference in enduring illness and suffering
mm,
with illness. Yeshua didn't suffer, he endured because he understood his purpose for being here.
yes.
And so he knew he was going to die at the cross, and he knew that the Jews were going to push it, and the Romans uh, really didn't want to have him killed because he hadn't committed any capital crimes against the government. I mean, they even, the guy that was in charge of Pontius Pilate, you know, he was for Yeshua. He didn't want to kill him because he hadn't done anything wrong. As a matter of fact, he was helping Rome out when it comes to the taxes. He didn't fight against the tax system. He says, "All right, whose image is on the coin?" And it says Caesar's. Then he says, "Well, render to Caesar what's
That's
Caesar,
Caesar's.
and
Mm-hmm.
give God what's God."
Mm-hmm.
So Rome took that as this guy's not against us. So it was the Jews that went against him, the elite aspect of the Judaistic religion, to have him killed. So there's a difference in endurance and suffering. We have to have people to endure their contrasts so that people like you and me can come up with an enlightenment
Yes.
and help to alleviate or help them with their endurance. You know, we have been living so much from an independent perspective that we don't know how to become interdependent. And that's and this is where we're coming to. We're leaving a totalitarian type government to democracy. And democracy, you know, I call it an oligarch made up of old families that are very rich and blue bloods and what have you, the 1%. And we're going to come into a type of utopia where position is no longer necessary, but functionality and facilitationship is. You don't need an identity for a position. You just become the lead facilitator. And once the demand is off of that leadership facilitating, you revert back to your facilitationship. That's where we're coming to. That will be a new order of government. AI is the latest thing, but the quantum computer is the next thing that's gonna unite the world. I mean, absolute unite the world. And it's about consciousness.
Yes.
It's all about consciousness.
Yes.
Yes, we give it its consciousness, but its energy, as they put the equation for energy and all that, it is able to tap into the void.
If you have and here's the thing about expanded consciousness.
Come
If
on.
if you begin to explore and know, one of the things about that I understand about the energy of abundance manifesting and begin to understand, like, you know, how they used to talk about, and they say faith without the works is dead. And here's one thing that I have a problem with is that when you get into vibration, it's not saying that you need to do nothing.
Exactly.
But there's some things that you could be working on some things, but there's the things that can happen into your life you can actually have, and there's no job or process
Mm-hmm.
of what you have committed to do that will give you what you could actually receive. It just has to do with more of energy, abundance, and being able to actually jump timelines, being able to actually, as we look at duality, and you actually,
Mm-hmm.
you know, they say that there's another version of what we are experiencing or who you are that's
Mm-hmm.
happening right now. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like, as you see who you are and what you desire and what you want, it's like you're like jumping timelines and moving into that space, right? Here's the thing. If you
Right.
wanted to change your life right now in an instant,
Uh-huh.
in an instant, no questions asked. I can
Mm-hmm.
tell you right now, I could give you some knowledge and instantly your life will automatically change. I could give you some knowledge, and that is right now, uh, take a weapon, right, and go crazy into a grocery store somewhere, and instantly you go into prison. Instantly, that decision that you made right then and there put you into a whole nother spectrum.
Right.
And all of a sudden you could sit there and be like, what just happened? You know, it happens when people are drinking too much and they end up in a wreck and they being like, oh my God, I don't know what just happened. And now here it is. I'm in, you know, now you have a manslaughter charge and you're in prison, right?
Right.
That same thing can happen for you by making the right decisions, right, in your life. Being able to understand, he was talking about AI, and my thing is, like, as you tap in and tune in the expanded consciousness, it's not all about just like that you're able to like see the light and see Jesus for who he is. No,
Exactly.
you're gonna get
Exactly.
inspired. You're
It's
gonna be able to
horrific.
tap in and tune in, and you just so happen to be a person. You know, the person that just so happened to be expanded enough 10 years ago and be like, oh, I'm gonna put $100 into this Bitcoin, and they end up, end up buying. If they ended up buying 100 Bitcoin or something, spending $150, all of a sudden that $150 is probably worth $1.5 million.
Hmm.
You're going to have people that begin to understand and realize in this era and time, and it's so vital and it's so important with technology that we wake up, realize that as we're doing this deconstructing, and as we're trying to go through this process, understand there could be other things that happens to your life depending on, you said it earlier, you talked about clarity, right? Being able to be clear. I use AI like crazy, crazy, crazy.
And you're so
And
good with it. You are a guru when it comes to this stuff, man.
it's really our ability and it's our ability to do what we normally couldn't do, um but yet they'll realize it. So here's my case in point. This is a cell phone, right? This is Donald Hoffman, expanded consciousness. Donald Hoffman talks about um, our reality, and he has a book talking about a case against our reality. And there's a lot of people, I know I'm somewhat chasing a little bit of a rabbit, but I really want us to have the opportunity within this expanded conscious community. I want us to understand that, like, it's happening all around us, all around us. And this guy here is Donald Hoffman, and he is openly on, there's his book, The Case Against Reality,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And if you get on YouTube, you will see consciousness is one of the things, the emergent science. We are one consciousness. This guy is a scientist.
Yep.
And you can dig into, and here I'm gonna tell you the truth. There's not a lot of people that coming from the church digging into this.
No, no, no. Their
They're not
belief
looking at
system
this,
will allow them.
and they're not allowed to. And one of the things is I can explain it like this. This is a cell phone you pick up every day, right? When you actually hit a button on your phone, right? You'll have a phone, and you see where it says call right there?
Uh-huh.
Like, that's my iPhone. And you hit that button,
Mm-hmm.
right? I want everybody to see this. Like, I'm gonna take you here. See this web page right here?
Mm-hmm.
I want to show you something. If I come over here and I'm gonna right click, and y'all can get off if y'all want to, but I'm here, and this is something you got to understand with expanded consciousness. I'm going to view the source page here. No, let's go, and I'm going to inspect this page. Right? Look at this. So this is what we're getting about in expanded consciousness. Oh wow, is it not letting you guys see that? Huh? It's not letting you guys see that. Let me see again. Does it let you do source page? Oh my goodness. Oh, okay. I have to open that window. Um, all right. See if I'll let you see this. I'm just want to take you somewhere real quick that when it comes to expanded consciousness and what it truly means in terms of what's going on with your reality, and it's happening before your eyes. This is happening before your eyes. All right. So if you was to go search an internet web page, you're just going to go search the web, right? And look for something on the internet. I'm going to just go over here and I'm going to look up the weather, right? Your reality, you're thinking that you're going up here and typing in the word and you type it in your city. But you know what you just did?
What?
This is what the engineers trick you with. You just went up here and you typed in Google, I want Tulsa, Oklahoma. I'm looking for weather, and I'm looking for Tulsa, Oklahoma, and I'm looking for the weather. And what you did in an instant is you went and you wrote all this code right here.
Wow.
In reality, you just wrote all that code.
That's awesome, man. Wow.
You just sit there in actual reality. You wrote all this code, but what you were given is what we call is a GUI, G-U-I, graphical user interface. A phone, I give you a graphical user interface. It's a way, it's a language that allows you, if I go to my Facebook here, it's a language that allows you to see it as graphics.
Wow. I got you.
But in reality,
wow,
by you pressing phone call, they have given you the ability to say, I want to be able to make a phone call. So I'm going to instantly hit this button. I'm going to call somebody. And behind the scenes, it's running through all these programs. In seconds, it's running through all these programs and giving you that information. It's giving you that information in reality. And so what you got, what you will learn, that's my website. But I have an understanding in programmers to understand every little component inside here is a little piece of code that is written inside here to give me what I want. If I take out this little bit of piece of code over here, it'll change, it'll change actually what's on this website. I know it's a little, it could be a little out there, but when we look at the work of Donald Hoffman, if you research and you listen to one of Donald Hoffman's videos, he will break it down as in what reality actually is and then what's happening behind the scenes. So behind the scenes, you got this computer and you're given this computer, but behind the scenes, the engineers have programmed it to make it look like, oh, look, I could do it. It's no different than driving a car. You get into a new car. My wife has a new BMW, and you get into that car and literally you're driving down the road, and your consciousness, you have to get used to it in consciousness, right? That you got to get used to it in consciousness. If we're driving down the highway, I can let it drive and it will brake. It will see cars on each side. It will show you in the screen where their cars are. It will actually hit the brakes. I mean, it's pretty much driving. A lot of it is driving for you. And there's in the car, it gets software downloads that says you can, telling you what's going wrong. And so the thing is the engineers are doing these things using consciousness, using expanded consciousness and physics.
That's right.
And it's providing you with the ability to use these things if you know how. So in other words, if I were to take you back 500 years from now and take this phone back with you 500 years and it worked, it'd be like a sorcery device. They would consider you evil. Like you're able to use this device to call up these things and to look at these things. And so what that means is you have the ability to use these tools to make a difference in your life. You have the ability to research something instantly. That's part of the problem, sir, is the fact that we didn't have when you first started this journey, you was digging up books and going, looking in the library.
Exactly right.
In order for you to change in order for you to actually excel and to be able to do this, you had to go through a lot. But now I can jump in ChatGPT and I can ask it, and it's a learning, what we call it's machine learning. So the more you use it, the more it learns about you.
Yes, that makes sense. I mean,
and
that's
you can tell it to learn you.
That's how we do.
My thing is like, don't be afraid. Use your knowledge and your expansion of consciousness, and be aware that you are capable of doing some things. We still have quite a few people on this evening. I'm gonna have them close out here, but I want y'all to look at this right here. Inner Growth Ministry is his Cash App, and that is his PayPal. So I would like for all of us in the community, right, to um, send a little something if you don't have Cash App or PayPal, then you need to learn to get it.
Yes, yes,
Because the thing is like you can do stock trades. I got some stocks inside Cash App just messing around. I got Bitcoin inside Cash App.
yep,
And with this new administration, I'm here to tell you, with this new administration coming in, uh,
yep,
Trump represents. Most people don't understand this, but Trump represents. Uh, he represents the 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 elite and the billionaires in society.
yeah,
Um, Even though he has used the ultra mega, ultra, ultra right wing conservative people, he still represents um, of the people that are the elite. And over the next 4 years, they're going to make more money than
mm-hmm,
ever.
mm-hmm,
And you have a choice. One of them being cryptocurrency is going to fluctuate, but one of those things is the um, it's dealing with financial institutions. They're gonna look at ways where they can beat the tax system. They're gonna look at ways where they can make money. And the thing is if you have just enough knowledge and understanding, you can actually benefit. And I want you to think about benefiting. So you need to get you just to have a Cash App to have $1 in it, just so you can understand. Cash App is owned by um, s- uh, s- Cash App is owned by uh, a credit card processing company. I can't think of their names right now, but you have the ability to move and receive and deal with cash outside of the banking system.
they charge like crazy.
Yeah, outside of the banking system, you can deal with cash. So I'm going to get on here. I want everybody to get on here. I was some time ago. I was on his show, and I think my first love offering came. I know my first love offering came from um, your community when I was on there, and it was, I don't know, it just really touched me. You know, it was really like, oh my goodness, I've never really received, you know,
Malachi, I've not said this before. I mean, I have, but I've not said it in a public manner. I really do appreciate and thank you so much how you worked with Carlton. And I mean how you worked with him. It was it was a beautiful dance. And I would get tickled when he didn't know what was going on. And Malachi, well, the thing is, Malachi, you would come in with your cool, calm, and collective self. Well, you just, oh yeah, okay, I got it. And it was just a beautiful dance. And you really helped educate him. You relaxed him. You helped, you helped him continue to finish his purpose.
yeah, I feel that.
And you put him before millions of people. You did that. And you didn't get paid for it. You did a lot for that man because you respected him, you loved him, and you honored him. And you guys became good friends.
Yeah,
It was such a wonderful
yeah,
movement of a dance between the two of you. And I loved it. And I want to thank you, man, for all that you did in helping to move his vision and get his message out so that when he leave the earth, left when he was leaving the earth, he was fine. He
Yeah.
was ready to go because he knew when he died. Because he told us, he said, "Oh, in my death, uh, this is going to take off," and it did. But it took off because Malachi was a part of it taking off. And I honor you, man, and thank you for carrying on the program. Thank you for being authentic. Thank you for showing us how it's possible to work with a very well-known individual uh, uh, and can be thick-headed at times, but how to work with them without ever, um, you know what? You didn't even care about having an identity because there was never no upstaging. There was never nothing. And even when he crossed over, and you know things were conversating about continuing the program without Carlton. I'm so glad you did, man. And many of us out here are glad that you did. So from my heart to yours, namaste to you, and I am forever in your corner, brother.
I appreciate it. I
You
really,
got
I really appreciate it. I had a lot of fun, and um, I had a lot of fun. That's what I say is I had a lot of fun, and Carlton was fun to be around.
yeah.
And I just, and I just knew that not thinking about his transition, but Carlton still was there for me 15 years ago when he made his transition into what he did. And then I met him in like 2008. Um, and yeah, 2008, I met him through Wayman Tisdale. And we kind of headed off because I was working with Wayman and other people. And so Carlton was kind of like, at the time I met him, he was kind of like a has been, if you will.
Yeah.
Um, and he had already done whatever he'd done. And
Right.
so I was blessed the opportunity to have him a lot of times just by myself because he wasn't, people liked him and they knew him, but he wasn't so highly sought after that I couldn't get
Right.
next to him. And so we became friends. I went to Chicago and visited him and we had a good time. And then by the time he moved back to Tulsa, like we we were just working on this thing together with the few people that were around, the few people who are around. And then by the time you go live online, you might have 300-400 people that are live with you at that time, but you really don't see them.
That's exactly right. You don't
So
see
is You don't see him. So it's just, but he was there. There were times that he was there for me, um, in terms of like being able to not have words, but he had words, especially when it comes to things in the church and when it comes to making, being able to deconstruct and uh, being able to call and have conversations. That was a beautiful thing. So part of it also, I take much is given, much is required, you know, and being able to carry on in numerous different ways, right? And this is one of them. And I honor you too for what you are doing. And you also go live um, on Thursdays
Yeah.
um, at 7 Central, I think 8 Eastern.
Yeah. 8:30.
Um, and so what? Yeah, I got a message. It's inner growth ministry, right?
Yeah.
Inner growth ministry. So, if you guys want, if someone had asked for it to be typed, I don't think it typed in the right thing. So it is Inner Growth Ministries. Ministry
Right.
is his Cash App, and I appreciate y'all for um, donating.
Wow. I'm very touched by that. I wasn't expecting any of that. Very
Well,
touched. That's going to help me to get to Africa because I'm Africa is decolonizing, especially Ghana is on its way. Ghana has removed the United States, removing the United States military out of Ghana. Some other countries have been doing the same thing, and uh, so they are really in a decolonizing uh, way of living. And I have to go and present it from the spiritual, religious, kind of sociologically structured foundation as to how you got to this place in order for them to be able to move and embrace the newness. Because Kwame Nkrumah had already laid the foundation, you know that, as he talked about, uh, uh, you know, so neo-colonialism. So I have to go, and I'm going this year. So I'll be doing a fundraiser, and this money that will send, that's going to go into savings and add it toward getting me to Africa. I'll be gone for 2 weeks, and I'll be renting a building, have a place to stay. I got to take care of that, and I'm just really looking forward to it. I've gone in and out of Ghana for many years.
yeah, I know we have a couple of followers from, I think, uh, I have a few people that are pretty active from Ghana, South Africa, and some other countries in Africa.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
You touch a lot of countries,
so
brother.
um, hopefully they're listening and they get this shout out, right? Because they are deconstructing. I'll look up those guys, because if you end up there in Ghana, I would love, because they talk about how difficult it is. I get quite a few people, Jamaica, Ghana, um, and other countries in Africa, and how difficult it is for them to be public with deconstructing.
Oh yeah. Oh, you know the emotionalism of Africans. Well, my God, when it comes to the preachers, woo, they kind of put you in mind of the evangelicals.
Yeah, there's a lot of evangelicals, and I think too there's a lot of their level of which their level of spiritual, um not just witchcraft, but their level of how those people are able to operate within dark psychology
Yeah,
is different.
yeah,
um but at the same time, they also have this, you know, spirituality that is not dark,
that's exactly right.
and it can be uh just as powerful.
Yep.
So I appreciate you, brother. I know it's getting late in your home, in your city. I appreciate you 100%. I love that you. I'm
Yeah.
glad we had the opportunity to have this conversation. Anybody that just tapped in and tuned in, um, now I promise you, you will be blessed if you go back and you listen to some of this conversation. Even last week's conversation. This year, brother, I plan on. I'm out and putting a lot of content, and anybody that's content creators out there, I want to encourage you to create and make some content. Put your heart out there,
I will.
um, and you don't have to always do it live. You can take your phone, record it, and just post it. Um, because one of the things I know for a fact is nothing necessarily against the Christian influencers, in that they have the freedom to do it. But one of the things that happens is, if you have a lot of people pushing a lot of bad theology, and no one countering that theology or giving other options, that becomes what is the standard,
The
right?
standard, the norm, right?
It's the norm. So that's why I honor people like Christian, who is a person that is actively taking what some people are saying and bringing clarity,
Yeah, he's good. He's a blessing.
in scripture, and bringing more clarity and understanding. And a lot of people don't like it whenever he actually somewhat calls people out and be like, this is bad theology. And I'm glad and I'm thankful for him, because I'm not, I'm in I'm in a space where we need people like that, because I'm in a space where I, I need y'all to go through that so y'all can get to this point, so y'all can expand, so we can do some things. Because if somebody out there is telling you something that's so whack and so whack and crazy, and you think that's God, it might take a minute for us to get to that point where now you're able to expand. And so I'm looking to do more live not live, but more
Good.
meditations,
That's
and put a
good.
lot more content out there. And
Yeah.
I appreciate you are doing what you're doing, brother, and going through our comments here. Mrs. Miss Wanda Caldwell says that tickled me too. Malachi, are we on? Can you see me on Facebook? Yeah. I couldn't believe, some of those things, just, I didn't even think about it, as far as, I just didn't think about it. I was happy. I was happy to be there, happy to help. Uh, it was fun.
It was. I was so glad you came in on the page tonight. We had a good time. You had us laughing. It was wonderful.
The, oh, thank you guys. This is if you want to, also you can go to my YouTube channel or to Facebook after this, and you can be able to go back and look at some of the comments. I want to give a shout out also to Ruben, who is outside of Chicago, the Chicago area. Outside of that, absolutely, he's using the far right, talking about Donald Trump. Yes, yes. Ruben is a FAMU graduate. He was
All
done
right.
some
Shout out
ministry.
to Sam, Ruben,
Yeah.
the Rube.
And you were Salem State, right?
Aggieland, North Carolina A&T.
A&T. That's what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah. So I went to Livingston College and finished at A&T State University.
And it's HBCU.
Yeah, Livingstone is the AME Zion School.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a HBCU too.
Yes, it is.
Most people don't know about that school,
No, some
as far as
tremendous,
it being an HBCU.
yeah, tremendous top-notch people graduated from that school. Beautiful people.
We have some. Oh, and that's where and Miss Dr. Bianca giving you a shout out here. Good to see you. Good to see you. And so many of you guys, I appreciate it. Appreciate you, Miss Jolene. I appreciate you too.
Oh, she's beautiful.
Hailing from Springfield.
Oh, hey, Haley.
Springfield, and Illinois. Miss Gwen, Miss Dolores coming from Detroit, Michigan.
All right, Detroit. That's part of my stumping ground.
Yeah, and Miss Deidre's Washington D.C.
Oh yeah.
Hey, Miss Gina.
Hey, Gina. Oh, mwah.
I hope you had a wonderful trip. I mean, I'm here. You got my number. It's a new year. We haven't talked for months. It's my fault too. I won't just blame you.
Gina is rolling, boy. I pull her up on TikTok and I pull up and she is flowing.
Yes, 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 absolutely. Doing wonderful. I everything that she's been through over the years. There was one thing that Miss Gina said that just really stuck with me. And she said a lot of times being the first lady left me feeling like the last.
Woo! She's right on that. Yep. A lot of first ladies feel that.
Feel like the last lady.
Yeah,
I
because
was
they
like, I
were
think a lot of ladies just feel that in general.
the first
First
ladies really
ladies are
feel
gonna
it.
feel it, but
Oh, they
first ladies
really
don't feel it.
because they are the last one that I mean, they don't have him until they go
Right.
home.
And you go home, and
And
then
a lot of times they don't have him at home.
they don't have him home. There was things
No, because
that,
he
and
goes
this
to
is
bed or he's
really,
on the phone. Yeah.
it was public knowledge in the sense that, and I'm gonna have a really good interview with her, but it was where it was like
Oh, that would be great.
Carlton was so busy and gone during the times of the church that there's times she didn't know where he was.
Yeah.
Oh no, he's speaking over here. Oh, he's speaking over there. I remember it, and remember. I don't remember it because I wasn't there, but I remember certain elements or pieces afterwards. But it would be like people would say, "Hey, Gina," and then they would go straight to him,
Yep.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And um, that's a tremendous role and a lot of psyche and a lot of things that you would have to go through. And I remember at the funeral, at the Episcopal service, you know, and she mentioned something about marrying. She said, I married him and I wanted a husband and a father of my kids, but I ended up with you. Ended up with all of you.
As only you can say it.
Woo! It's
But
so true.
besides, yeah, but besides, she got an older guy too when she married him.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah.
Carlton was an older man. I
Yeah,
mean,
she's,
he was up there.
yeah. Had her probably about roughly 9 years. I think she was 31. He was 40, something like that.
Exactly.
It
Yeah,
was, and I think it all
he really
happened real
he really
fast.
robbed the cradle.
Yes, Miss Gina carried it with grace right there. Yeah. She
Yeah.
carried it with grace, but do you know, even to this day, they would end up talking bad about her and saying that she did this or did that and saying that she was the witch. And, they just,
That's that's
they,
all those
re-
people can do is
they
talk.
beat her up pretty bad.
They
Um,
just
but
stupid.
she's pushing through a lot of it. Um, and and truly has a lot of profound things in being around both of them. There was at times Carlton would be Carlton, but she was right behind the scenes, like feeding him a lot of stuff too. Like a lot of expanded stuff because she had already done Landmark, and she was feeding him a lot of stuff too. Like, hey, what
Yep.
about, hey, a lot of stuff, and that usually happens a lot of times within um, marriages, especially marriages with the man that is prominent. you
Exactly.
know well, I think we'll have a wonderful interview, but um I appreciate you, brother, and everybody that's out there that's stuck with us. And hey, I don't want y'all to forget, I'm working on this, and I'm working on this with, I don't know why my particular screen will not move to what it's supposed to move to. Let's see here. Comments. What?
I'll
Well,
make sure I give you a call too, so we can connect and do that thing for Bishop Stephen White.
oh yes, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm not even able to. If you go to his page, one of Carlton's dear friends, Bishop Stephen White, who has been dealing with some health
Yeah, tremendous health.
some tremendous health issues, and he's been a traveling uh evangelist bit pretty much uh for a long time. And he, we're gonna do some I'm gonna do something with him, and we're gonna donate to his cause. um
His health. Yeah.
yeah, we're gonna donate to his cause, yeah, for his health, so he can live. I mean, I know the 100% Bishop would, and so I want to definitely be a part of that. And I'm sure that will, let's see, okay, there we go. I had to get back to my screens. This Even I can struggle with some of this stuff. um but we appreciate, I hope you guys have made sure that you guys had, I'm gonna send this, make sure you guys do that. That's his Cash App. Don't forget, also, I am growing and building our community, Patreon community. I have Miss Deidre is really been instrumental in pushing me with that. That is the Patreon community, expanded
I
conscious
like that.
community.
Okay, I'm gonna go to Patreon. I already have a Patreon account, so I got to pull you up so I can join in.
Yeah, join in that. I'm gonna be doing some more. That's where we're gonna do some more private stuff, especially this year, and really be able to get down to some nitty gritty. Um, and that is an expanded conscious community there on Patreon. I'm looking forward to have some wonderful guests this year. We have Dr. Joel is going to be on this month. Joel
Oh,
is part of the
really?
community. Uh,
All
grew,
right.
grew up. He's Jamaican by way. He's from England, but he's Jamaican, and he went to school, I think, in England. He's a physician. And so we're going to be talking this year. We're also going to be talking in the expanded conscious space. We're going to be talking about wellness and holistic
Oh, good, good.
understanding, um, what we can do to better our health, what we can do to move ourselves into a state of being able to receive. It's one thing being able to study and go through all this, but then we're not really we're not really finding a way to exercise. Simple. I mean, you can jump on YouTube right now and do a simple exercise.
I do.
Yeah. I mean, you can jump on there and do an exercise. It's not that difficult in terms of being able to access and do things to change your life and then open up. One of the things is being that, as I've heard before, it's like being able to give God something to use. Um, if you sleeping and laying in bed and expecting change, uh, it still can happen. But but if you really, really are hungry, it's much easier to get up and go to the refrigerator and see what's in there than it is to actually sit there and wish that somebody is going to bring you something. Um, Even though it's still possible that somebody could be like, "Oh, how'd you know?" It's We are powerful beings, able to do powerful things if we're willing to actually believe in ourselves and understand that it is our birthright to be able to experience this life abundantly above all we can imagine, right? And so I appreciate you, sir. I'm gonna close off this. You can stay on for a second as I close this out, and I'll bring, we'll sum up with you and I. And I appreciate all you guys that have remained on here. And I look forward to next week. I'm gonna still be back 8:30, right? Central, 9:30 Eastern. We're gonna be back next week. Any last words, Bishop? Possible?
Only one thing. Life is 10% what happens to us and 90% of how we respond to it.
Blessings. I'll see you guys later.
Namaste.